We are back on It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati. Lindsay Patterson, Mike Santagata here. The Cincinnati Bengals have a game against the Cleveland Browns this week. How are you doing?
I mean, I'm doing great. We are now recording 7 days from Christmas, so big time coming. Yeah, I don't know. We're hosting on Saturday. I have a holiday party Friday. You holiday party Thursday. So I'm recording today. So parties picking up.
I love it. I love a work holiday party. They're the best. And if
First
you are
one for me.
Really, they're so fun. They're so fun because you're out of the work setting. You're having fun. You're talking about the new year. I'm sure your coworkers know you're a Bengals fan, so I'm sure they'll talk a little football with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always a small talk, but I love it. And if you are going to your holiday parties, everybody, and you're listening to this podcast, please be safe. But outside of that, it's a big week for the Cincinnati Bengals. Thursday night football, Broncos and Chargers. The Bengals have a very slim possibility of getting into the playoffs with the help of a lot of other teams. Joe Burrow talked to the media on Wednesday, and he said that he will be watching that game, and definitely something to monitor for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
That's all I got. That's all I got for that.
Pretty much, right?
But looking ahead to the Cleveland Browns game, extremely important for the Cincinnati Bengals if they have any hope on a postseason action is getting a win against the Cleveland Browns. And fun fact, they could get a sweep. So that would be nice in the AFC North because their division record isn't so great against the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. So huge game for them. Cleveland, they still have a good defense. Myles Garrett still terrifies me. He'll be on the other side of the ball. When you think about this matchup for the Bengals for the second time around, how are you liking this offense versus Cleveland?
This offense versus Cleveland, when I looked at the injury report, a little bit better just because Martin Emerson, concussion, did not participate. Hopefully he gets healthy, but at the same time, I'm going, okay. Martin Emerson gives some troubles a lot of times when they play. So I was trying to look back and see when was the last time the Bengals swept the Browns, because it used to be, not an uncommon occurrence.
Yeah.
But yeah, they lost a bunch straight from 2020 through 2022.
Yeah.
So I think the last time would be 2017. It's the last time they swept the Browns. So it's been a while. But yeah, when I was looking at the injury report, Martin Emerson is concussion, did not participate. Shelby Harris, elbow, did not participate. I don't know. Maybe those guys are going to come back. It's early in the practice reports. I mean, when you look at the Bengals one, you get like Chris Jenkins did not participate. Other illness, so you could probably.
You think?
Probably. As long as Rankins didn't give it to him. Probably. Usually those guys still play well. The Browns are like concussion and elbow. So I like it better in terms of the DBs. If they have to get to their fourth corner to try to defend the Bengals group of receivers. Now, Greg Newsome has always played well against the Bengals. I say this like every time it comes to the Browns, but the Browns could be having a terrible defensive season. They're getting up for this game. And that's kind of true this year and true for what the Browns did earlier this year. The Browns have not had a good defensive season all year, but they got up for the Bengals game. They had a game plan specific to take them down where they're normally a huge man team, and they played so much zone. It had the coaches, took them too long to adjust, but had the coaches confused. Oh my God, this is what Jim Schwartz is going to do to us, because he never does this to us. He trusts his corners and man. Didn't trust them. And I think they're going to have a game plan. I think this is a big game for them. I'm not going to say that every fan base, I feel like, has the line like, oh, that's your Super Bowl. I don't think it's their Super Bowl, but I do think they get excited for this game. The corners love the matchup against these wide receivers. These are really talented corners. Denzel Ward, if Martin Emerson plays, super talented corner. And Greg Newsome is a talented corner, even if he's having a down year. And Greg Newsome, I thought in that first game wasn't terrible. Some plays happened, but he was there. He got dunked on by Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but he was right there. So a bounce of the ball, 2 inches different on the throw. Does it change? Maybe. So I think the Bengals need to be able to bring their A game on offense. The crazy part to me comes on the other side. And then the other part I'll mention is the Myles Garrett. God bless whatever the Bengals are going to try to do with that left tackle, because he's probably not going to have a good day. I hope they give a lot of help. I hope Drew Sample plays a lot of snaps giving help. Mm-hmm. And it could even just be Gesicki runs into him before the play really starts. But I hope whatever their plan is, they have a good plan for Myles Garrett, because that is the one part of this defense that's going to wreck you. Maybe the corners play outstanding. They take away these receivers, slow them down a little bit. I shouldn't say take away, but slow them down a little bit. I still have trust that the Bengals offense would be fine if they got protection. But if Myles Garrett wrecks the game too, you start looking into, this could be an ugly offensive performance. Now, the Bengals offense has been good the past few weeks. We'll see. I do have some riding on this, because the only fantasy league that has money involved that I'm still alive in does have T. Higgins starting. So please, T touchdown, please. I'm begging, because like it shows green on the matchup thing. It's like, oh, this is a great matchup. I'm like, yeah, normally, but like it's the Browns. They get up for this game. They get excited to play against T. Higgins and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, anytime Myles Garrett is out there, even Zach Taylor talked to the media about it. Like, look, this guy can wreck a game. And I know that Cleveland Browns fans are probably watching this and saying, you know what, we want to lose to the Cincinnati Bengals. We want to get a better draft pick. And there are some Bengals fans who say, hey, I'd like the Cincinnati Bengals to start losing because they're not going to make the playoffs and get a better draft position. So players don't think like that. They play for jobs and they play to win. And I know the season isn't going as planned for the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals, but they're going to get up for it. It's still going to be competitive. It always is when you think of these AFC North matchups. And look at some of the Browns wins. I mean, they get up for these games too, and with other opponents in the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and even the Baltimore Ravens. So you can't overlook them at all. But defensively, yes, I'll always be terrified when Myles Garrett is on the other side of the ball, even if their corners are dealing with injuries. He's terrifying, and I actually wish that he would sit out this game.
JOK, their linebacker, I think is on IR as well. So that's a really good player for them that's not going to be able to play in this game, but I think he played in the last game. And obviously Zadarius Smith not there anymore. He's in Detroit. So I feel like he played in that first game. Maybe I'm wrong. But the pass rush isn't as ferocious as it was last year. When you had a prime Zadarius Smith rushing full effort, you had Myles Garrett in Defensive Player of the Year form. I think that was a terrifying pass rush, and it was a big reason why the defense was the number one defense in the league.
Yeah.
Now it's, there's not enough pieces lost for me to look at that defense and go like, oh yeah, like that should be the 26th or whatever defense. I don't know. Maybe they're better than that. I should probably fact check that real quick, but the defense should still be good. I feel like now this is just maybe an example of how people say often that, defense is volatile. 26 on the dot on points against.
Wow.
Oh, that was a complete guess from the hip. So they should be better than the 26 defense. So you have Myles Garrett. You've got a pretty solid interior with Dalvin Tomlinson when Shelby Harris is healthy. I know JOK out and Anthony Walker left, and they replaced him with I can't remember his name. But you look at the safeties, same guys, the corners, same guys. It's good like DC. A lot of the same guys, same DC, a good DC. How are they 26 defense? I don't know. But I look at that and I think also, when I'm also saying one side, how are they so bad right now? I also go, well, they have the potential to be really good in the game, right? Like this is a really talented defense. So I'm not going to take the defense lightly. I think when you have Myles Garrett, you've got some corners that like to get up for these physical games. I think things can happen that slow down this Bengals offense and leave Bengals fans at home feeling a little unsatisfied.
100%. And we flip sides, and I think about the Bengals defense. Look, I know who they have at quarterback, and they're sitting Jameis out for this game, which could be a little fun if he was out there. We'll see what it looks like offensively for them. Nick Chubb will be out, and I hate that for Nick Chubb. I hate injuries just overall, but man, he just seems like just a class act NFL player, and really just hate to see that for him to really end his season this year. But they can still run the ball with Ford. So we'll see what that looks like when it comes to their receivers and running the football against this Bengals defense. I know Geno Stone was limited in practice with them. I want to say a shoulder injury. We'll see if the defense can can still put up a performance. I mean, they normally do they do okay against under 500 teams, but I don't know. I don't trust the Bengals defense. I mean, anybody can go out there and make them look like they have all season long. So when you think about the two sides going against each other, it's going to look a little bit different from that first matchup. Obviously, Deshaun Watson started that game. Then they saw two different backup quarterbacks in the second half and got a little scary with Winston towards the end. But when you think about this matchup, what are you expecting?
I think if Jameis was the backup last time, it would have been a very close game. And I think if Jameis started this one, I would lean towards taking the Browns even. Because I feel like he would be okay against this defense. I think there's defenses that have given him trouble. He's gotten a little too careless with the ball over the past few weeks. I mean, multiple picks in like 3 games, including multiple 3 interception games. You got to be a little better than that with taking care of the ball. But I also feel like watching that drive, I don't know, like the Bengals defense was a little soft, but it just felt like he was willing to throw the ball down the field. It was so different than seeing either of the other 2 guys where Watson was just checking everything down. No matter what, he was just going to check it down. There was nothing going beyond 5 yards in the air. DTR, he just doesn't look like he's caught up to the speed of the game. It just feels to me like he plays slow. He doesn't see things. He's a heck of a runner, gives a lot of effort, but to me, them putting in DTR is like, all right, they're kind of just tanking, right? Like, I know Jameis throws the interceptions, he's got the turnovers, but to me, Jameis definitely gives you a better shot to win this game.
Yeah.
Because when I watch DTR, Jameis moves the ball down the field. I don't see DTR moving the ball down the field. And maybe they make a switch mid-game again.
Oh my gosh, maybe not.
But
maybe not.
If you remember, right before that Bengals game is when they finally made the switch. Like, okay, DTR is our second quarterback, and Jameis will be the third. The emergency. And then when they got to the game, I don't know if DTR actually got hurt. They're like, oh, please, can we get Jameis in there somehow? So I don't know how you go back to DTR. It's like, to me, you got to ride it out with Jameis. Like, I understand he's had issues the past few weeks, but if you're trying to win the game, he moves the ball down the field. He should. And he's going to give an opportunity. You know, Jerry Jeudy's been so much better when Jameis is in there. And even Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, and all these guys, and Njoku, they're all able to produce. Even with the picks, they're producing on the field. They're probably having a little bit of fun. DTR gets in there. I don't know if they're going to have a lot of fun. Like, I don't think he's going to get the ball to them in the same way that Jameis does. Jameis kind of has that Ryan Fitzpatrick to him where he lets his guys go and make plays. That's also where some of those interceptions come. Not all of them. He makes some bad reads too. But some of them are just like, I'm going to give my guy a shot to make a play here, and it gets picked off. I don't see DTR doing that. It just feels like he hesitates, and either is going to check it down or misread the coverage, or sometimes he makes an okay throw, but a lot of it is just not NFL quality. So that's where I'm at the point where I am a little bit confident in this defense as long as DTR is playing, that I think they'll have a pretty good game.
Yeah, it would be nice to see. I mean, obviously, if this team wants anything out of the season and to finish with the above 500, 9-8, I know it hasn't gone as planned. You got to win a game like this. You're at home too. They've only won 1 game at home, which is crazy to think about. They'll play the next 2 at home. Obviously, the Denver Broncos game is Saturday, December 28th. So we'll see what that one looks like. Could end up being a huge game for them. But again, there's a couple football games that need to happen before that is all determined. Next up, the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals at Paycor Stadium. I do want to mention this because it is something to monitor, even kind of going back to the last game. I know Joe Burrow wore a sleeve on his knee. He did talk to the media today or on Wednesday, and he said that it's going to be something that he's dealing with for the next few weeks. And even if it was a short week, he would have been good to go to play in it, but definitely something to monitor. Obviously, we still saw him scramble in the game versus the Titans, but he did take some additional hits, and he's going to have a backup left tackle out there again. So, hopefully Joe can stay protected with this backup offensive line. Alex Kappa was dealing with a concussion, but he did practice on Wednesday. Again, still stuff to monitor when it comes to the starting offensive lineman and what that's going to look like for the game on Sunday. But, Mike, go ahead and give your prediction.
Oh, man. 7.5 feels like a lot for this Bengals team. I think the offense is going to have some struggles. Just historically, that's how they've always been against the Browns. It's how they've been against Jim Schwartz. even with Martin Emerson possibly missing this game, Browns fans might think I'm crazy. I think Greg Newsome will probably play okay. Like, I think he'll play pretty well. I think he's a pretty good corner.
I do too.
Granted, I mainly watch the Bengals-Browns game, so they're probably watching all 17 going like, you didn't see him against the Buccaneers. It's like, no, I didn't actually. Like, was he getting toasted? Possibly. I didn't watch that one. But I watched like the division games mostly, and when I watched him, it's like, yeah, he's pretty good. Like, I don't think him and Emerson are too different. But Emerson been more consistent this year, from what I've seen. I think it's closer than the spread. Division game. The Bengals haven't had a home field advantage all year where it really feels like they should be getting points, like 3 points or whatever in this situation. I'm not saying they should lose points if they're so bad at home, but I think the Bengals do enough, especially with DTRs at quarterback. I think it ends up like 23-16, something around that range. Bengals win by somewhere around a field goal. So like the spread's about right, but if I had to take one, I would take the Browns side of it because the Bengals could blow them out, but I think it's more likely that this is a close game than the Bengals blowing them out. I don't see the Browns blowing the Bengals out in this one, though. So, like, that is the other part. Is like, I just don't think that offense with DTR will be able to move the ball effectively enough, even against the Bengals defense, to be able to create a blowout situation.
Yeah, I'm right around there. I don't think it's going to be pretty. Rarely is because, Myles Garrett's still playing defense for me. I think about this matchup with the secondary and the Bengals wide receivers. Obviously, good to have T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki involved. We'll hopefully see another explosive day for Chase Brown on the ground to be determined on what that looks like. Maybe even in the air for him. I do see kind of a split when it comes to touchdowns. I'll go T. Higgins and Jamar Chase in the end zone. Feel like I gotta put Chase Brown in there. I feel like I gotta put Chase Brown in there. Maybe
you could put T in there a second time if you want.
Okay, T. Higgins. You know what? T. Higgins again.
What about 3 T?
Gotta add up my
3 Higgins. 3 Higgins.
Two for T at home, and then you got to get Jamar back in there. You got to get Jamar back in there because look, you're trying to get him 20 touchdowns on the year, trying to get that triple crown. You got to get your boy back in the end zone.
And maybe T. Higgins can throw that one for my fantasy team.
There you go.
Play. T. Higgins throws the touchdown to Jamar Chase too. So the three Higgins.
All right. So if I'm gonna have 2 T. Higgins touchdowns.
You're fine. You don't actually have to have 2.
No. I'm getting my prediction. Look, we can have fun with it because this current team only has 6 wins on the season. So T. Higgins in the end zone twice. They do make their extra points, so they're going to be up 14. Jamar Chase in there 21. And man, I've got to put Chase Brown in there just because he's having a great season. So 28. I was at 23 before we started the segment, but I'll go 28, 17.
Okay. Wow.
A little bit of a sloppy. Watch there be like a pick 6 or something.
I think on the negative side, I don't think this is a Chase Brown week.
Oh, that makes me sad.
The Browns front just demolishes the Bengals offensive line every time they play. Every time. And if you went back and watched that game, like that is one of the takeaways in the run game. It's like, oh my God, like you could barely tell what run schemes they're trying to establish here because their guys just getting blown right off the ball. So maybe they figure it out. Maybe the Browns don't have the morale to really get up for this game because most of the time I do talk about getting up for the game. It's like mid-season. They're still in it. It's rare that it's like December and they're out of the playoffs entirely. That I've seen this, but I still think they might just because I think they like getting up for this game. But yeah, that front for the Browns just gives this Bengals offensive line fits. I think Mims was fine the last time they played. And pretty much everybody else was like a woof. I think Orlando Brown played that game and he was all right. So wait, was that one that he got hurt? Yeah, he got hurt.
He got hurt in that game. You're right. Yeah, Cody Ford had to come in and they gave up 2 sacks.
Yeah. Actually, I don't remember how Orlando Brown played, to be honest with you. I think Mims played all right, though. But the guards, the center, the left tackle that came in after, they all had issues. Do you buy any of the, just real quick, do you buy any of the Matt Lee? They said, like, no. Matt Lee, we see him as a center guard.
No, not at all? I don't think, I mean, there's an opportunity for him to be out there, but I don't see him starting. No.
Okay. I think there's a chance. I was way off. I was like, I probably influenced you too. I was like, there's no shot. I just feel like maybe I didn't hear the question, but like mentioning it just to me was like, just kind of like, not that I went, oh, he's playing, but I went, huh, okay. So because I've also always thought they saw him as a center. So if they are telling the truth here that they see him as a guard too, I could see it. I could
look
see.
who you're dealing with, Kappa and Bolson out there. Like,
yeah. I also think like how much worse could it get?
knock on wood.
I didn't watch him in college. Preseason, I thought the run game had issues, but I thought he was a good pass protector. I would take that.
Mm-hmm.
I would take that over what they've currently got out there. So I'm kind of interested in seeing it. Not as interested, I think, as Twitter. Twitter is like, he should have been starting week 1. It's like, well, maybe, I don't know, but I didn't think he looked like an all-star in preseason. I think he looked like a promising interior prospect.
One more thing to say. Well, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. Both of us.
We'll see if he gets out there. I've given it like a 15 to 20% chance that he could be out there. Snap one.
Anything is possible. Let me ask you this. Zach Taylor talked about it at his Wednesday press conference, and he's putting T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. They continue to come out for the coin toss. Look, it's been good luck for them the last few games. Do you think Zach Taylor, and I want to give Twitter credit for this. It's not something I came up with, but when I listened to Zach Taylor today, I was like, maybe there's more to it. Do you think Zach Taylor's showing like, look, the big 3, look front office, look at how much everybody loves this?
I think that plays into it. But I feel like when I first saw that, it almost felt like it's T's last rodeo.
Oh.
So we're going to keep making him captain with, the 2 other big stars. Could be wrong. I buy both takes where, and it could be both, that Zach thinks that, man, this front office is really not going to pay T. Higgins. Like, we're going to celebrate him. But also, I think that could put pressure to be like, these are our 3 best players. Like, why are you breaking this up when you have the cap space to keep it? Like,
he changed his agent.
Like, I've bought in a little bit on if you would have asked me 2 months ago, we would both probably say like somewhere around a 2% chance he's going to be re-signed.
5, because it's his number.
Right. 5% chance he's re-signed. And like maybe a 10% chance he gets the double tag or something like that. And now it's like, oh man, like they might be my number 1 pick for him next season, just because there's so many teams that could buy him to him that, like, you hear the Patriots are interested. You could build your case for the Titans, and it makes sense for the Chargers or whoever that they'd be interested in him. But I know the Bengals are interested. Like, plenty of people in the Bengals are interested in keeping him. And then he changes the agent to the same guy Jamar Chase has. Like, I kind of buy that stuff now. But yeah, when I first saw the T. Higgins thing, I was kind of thinking like The Last Dance. Maybe I'm off, but that was my first thought when I saw that, was like, oh, okay, yeah, T's last rodeo in Cincinnati.
I promise I'm wrapping it up after this, but I do want to get to the point of wrapping all the T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, because I know we've talked about it plenty, but I just feel like it was very timely when everything started to happen and when all that's a
good point.
Because T. Higgins, I know a lot of people are like, oh, maybe he got rid of the agent before the season. I will say, just from a little research, David Malagueta was at that Monday Night Football Washington game. And he was with T, and he was with Joseph Asai. So I'm just saying, this feels like an in-season change.
Yeah. And wasn't there something somebody posted a long time back during this season that was like, oh, interesting that this agency posted T. Higgins stats instead of Malagueta? But then I think it got like debunked as like, oh, they've always been posting T stuff. He signed with them as
his agent, marketing person.
Marketing versus like contract agent. I don't know. But I wonder if that had anything to do with it too. Like, did he make a switch around then and we just found out? Or maybe it happened when we found out. I have no idea. Good research from your point. Not too much more. Just I hope I'm wrong that they're talking about like that it went out there as like a last rodeo thing. I hope it is Zach Taylor putting a little bit of pressure on the front office. Like, these are the stars. Pay the stars.
Yep. Put it out there. Test it out. Joe Burrow's doing it. Jamar Chase is doing it. Zach Taylor, do it. If they're not listening to you in the front office, go out there when you talk to the media and put them out there. And hopefully it works. I hope we're talking about an extension in a couple, well, not even, yeah, it'll be a couple months because they got to do it before free agency. So we'll see what it looks like for them. Cincinnati Bengals hopefully win number 2 at Paycor Stadium. We will talk about it later that week. Well, not even later that week, after the game on Sunday. Make sure you're following Mike Bengals_Sands on Twitter. You can follow me at LNDS Patterson. Thank you for always listening to It's Always Game Day in Cincinnati.
Go Chargers.